Disclaimer: this story is a work of fiction. Names, characters, places, and incidents are the products of the author's imagination or are used fictitiously. Any resemblance to actual events, places, or persons living or dead is purely coincidental. The story contains suspense and horror elements that may not be suitable for all readers. Reader discretion is advised. It started as a simple weekend plan. Sam had been working too many hours, Maya needed a break from her endless college assignments, and Jordan, always the wild card, wanted to try something off the grid. Rachel, the most cautious of the group, was surprisingly the one who said, "Let's do it." So when Jordan found a post on a forgotten travel blog about a hidden lake somewhere in the rural Midwest, untouched, unspoiled, and barely known, they all agreed. No crowds, no noise, no cell signal. Just peace and nature. The lake didn't even have a proper name, just a label on the map, Lake Wendigo. Jordan thought the name was cool. "Sounds like some ancient Native American legend," he said, chuckling. He sent the location to the group chat along with photos he found online: still water, dense trees, and a narrow dirt road leading deep into the woods. "We'll be legends ourselves for finding this place." They packed up a tent, sleeping bags, a cooler of food, and hit the road on a Friday morning. The drive was long, over 5 hours, and the closer they got, the more isolated the area became. Towns turned to fields. Fields turned to forests. And just before reaching the lake, they stopped at a small gas station to top off the tank. The station was old and quiet. A single attendant stood behind the counter, an elderly man in flannel with tired eyes. As they were paying, he looked up at them and said, "You folks headed toward the lake?" Jordan nodded, grinning. "Yup. Lake Wendigo." The old man paused, then slowly shook his head. "You shouldn't stay there overnight." The group exchanged amused glances. "Why not?" Sam asked. "There's stories," the man said. "That lake ain't right after dark. People don't always come back." "Urban legend?" Jordan smirked. "That's half the reason we're going." The man didn't smile. "I'm serious. Don't say you weren't warned." Back in the car, they laughed about it, calling the gas station guy the discount version of a horror movie narrator. But Rachel didn't laugh as much. "It's probably just a local trying to scare tourists away," she said, though her tone wasn't fully confident. By the time they reached the narrow dirt road, the sun was beginning to lower on the horizon. Tall pine trees lined the path, casting long shadows. The road was uneven and overgrown, but eventually it opened up to a small clearing with a wide view of the lake. It was beautiful, almost unnaturally so. The water was like a mirror, perfectly still. The air was completely silent, without the sound of birds, wind, or insects. For a moment, none of them said a word. Then Maya whispered, "Wow, it's like it's waiting for us." They set up camp near the water's edge. The silence began to feel normal, peaceful even. They built a fire, laughed about old times, and shared stories as the stars came out. But as darkness fully settled in, Rachel glanced at the woods and frowned. "Is it just me?" she asked, "or does it feel like we're being watched?" Sam brushed it off. "It's the woods. Everything feels alive at night." Jordan raised a toast. "To the most peaceful, boring lake trip ever?" None of them noticed the shadow ripple across the water. By morning, the lake was even more surreal than it had been the night before. Sunlight filtered through the trees and mist clung low over the water like a veil. The reflection on the lake's surface was almost too perfect, as though the water was made of glass instead of liquid. Sam stepped out of his tent, stretched, and inhaled deeply. The air smelled of pine and something else, damp earth, maybe, or something older. Jordan was already skipping stones across the lake, sending tiny ripples out into the stillness. Maya sat near the water, sketching the trees in her notebook. Rachel had wandered off along the shoreline, drawn by the beauty of the early morning light. The group spent the day hiking around the lake, taking photos and enjoying the lack of cell service. "It's actually kinda nice not having any notifications for once," Maya said, brushing a leaf out of her hair. Even Rachel, who'd seemed hesitant before, was smiling more. "It's peaceful. Too peaceful, honestly." They circled the lake entirely by late afternoon. That's when they found it. Tied to the base of an old, gnarled tree near the far end of the shore was a string of thin, knotted rope. Attached to it was a small charm made of wood and bone. It had strange symbols carved into it, some faded, others still sharp. The charm spun slowly in the breeze, even though there was barely any wind. "Some kind of totem?" Sam guessed. "Creepy souvenir," Jordan joked, reaching toward it. "Don't touch it," Rachel said sharply. Her voice surprised everyone, including herself. "Just leave it. It feels like something sacred." Maya took a photo of it, zooming in on the carvings. "Looks tribal. Maybe Native American. Or maybe witchcraft," Jordan teased, waving his hands in fake spell motions. "Ahoo." but none of them were laughing anymore. There was something about the charm that made them feel like they weren't supposed to be there. They returned to their campsite in silence. As evening approached, the mood shifted. The golden light of sunset gave the lake a strange glow, almost as if the water was glowing from beneath. The mist had returned too, crawling over the surface like ghostly fingers. "I feel like it's watching us," Maya said quietly as she stared out at the lake. Sam gave a nervous laugh. "You mean like a fish? Or something else?" "Just a feeling," she said. "Forget it." They built another fire as night fell. Dinner was quiet, with everyone too tired to talk much. Even Jordan had stopped joking. The earlier excitement had faded into a strange tension, an unspoken sense that something was off, even if no one wanted to admit it. Rachel stood and walked toward the lake, hugging her jacket close. She stopped a few feet from the edge and just stared. "Guys," she called softly, "come look at this." The others joined her and followed her gaze. There were ripples in the center of the lake, slow, deliberate, like something large was just beneath the surface. But there was no splash, no movement, no fish jumping. Just ripples radiating outward. "Could be a log," Sam offered, though he didn't believe it. "Or a big turtle," Maya added. But Rachel shook her head. "There's no sound. No movement. Just that." They stood in silence, staring at the water. Then the ripples stopped. Jordan laughed nervously and clapped his hands. "All right. Well, that's enough nature for today. Who's ready for marshmallows?" The group returned to the fire, trying to shake off the growing unease. They told ghost stories, mostly to lighten the mood, but each tale felt a little too real now. Every crack of the fire made them jump. Every sound from the woods set their eyes scanning the darkness. At one point, Sam looked back at the lake. It was perfectly still again. Like nothing had ever moved. Like it was waiting. Night had fully fallen, and the fire crackled in the center of the camp, throwing flickering shadows across the tents and trees. The lake now looked like a pool of ink, black and endless. The moon was hidden behind drifting clouds, leaving only the soft orange light of the campfire to keep the darkness at bay. Jordan tossed another log into the fire. "All right, who's got a scary story?" Maya rolled her eyes. "You're literally sitting at the creepiest lake in the state. Isn't that enough?" Jordan grinned. "That's exactly why I'm asking." Rachel didn't say anything. She was staring into the darkness beyond the firelight, arms wrapped around herself. Sam noticed her unease and nudged her gently. "You okay?" She hesitated. "Just unsettled. I keep feeling like there's something out there. Watching us." Maya glanced around. "We're in the middle of the woods, Wretch. There's probably 100 animals watching us." "Maybe," Rachel said, but she didn't sound convinced. Suddenly there was a splash. Not small, loud. Like something heavy had fallen into the water. Everyone froze. Jordan stood up slowly, peering toward the lake. "Did you guys hear that?" Sam grabbed a flashlight and aimed it toward the water, scanning the shoreline. Nothing. The surface was still again, too still. Like it was holding its breath. "Probably a deer," Maya offered, her voice tense. "Or maybe a beaver." "No way," Jordan muttered. That sounded huge. Sam stepped closer to the lake, just enough to see the edge of the shoreline clearly. He swept the flashlight back and forth. That's when he saw it. A pale shape, just beneath the surface, round, featureless, and unmoving. For a split second, he thought it might be a rock or a sunken log. Then it blinked. Sam jumped back so fast he nearly dropped the flashlight. "There's something in the water," he gasped. The others rushed over. "What did you see?" Rachel asked. I don't know. It looked like a face. Just under the surface." Maya stepped cautiously to the edge. "I don't see anything." Neither did Sam anymore. Whatever it was gone. Jordan gave a nervous laugh. "All right, that's enough Ghost Lake nonsense. Let's just stay near the fire." "Yeah." They all agreed. Whatever sense of adventure they'd had earlier had now twisted into a deep, gnawing discomfort. The woods felt colder, the air heavier. They sat around the fire, trying to talk about normal things. Movies, music, college life. But the conversation never flowed naturally. Everyone kept glancing toward the lake. Listening. Another splash. Closer this time. They all looked up. Nothing. The fire dimmed slightly as the wind shifted, and a low whistle came through the trees. Rachel stood up suddenly. "I'm going to my tent," she said. No one stopped her. One by one, they all turned in, though none of them expected to sleep well. Sam sat awake in his tent, listening. The sound of the lake lapping gently against the shore was strangely rhythmic, almost like breathing. He turned over, trying to shake it off. An hour passed. Then, around midnight, Maya woke up to a soft sound, like someone crying. She sat up, heart pounding. It was coming from the lake. She unzipped her tent slowly and stepped out, barefoot and shaking. There, in the faint moonlight, stood a figure in the water. A woman, waist-deep, her back turned. Long black hair hung dripping down her back. She wasn't moving. Maya felt a chill run up her spine. "Rachel?" she whispered. No response. "Rachel?" She took a shaky step forward. The figure turned slowly. But there was no face, just smooth, pale skin where eyes, nose, and mouth should be. Maya screamed. Sam and Jordan burst out of their tents, flashlights in hand. Maya pointed frantically toward the lake. There was someone there. In the water. The beam of the flashlight swept across the surface. Nothing. The lake was still again. The fire had burned down to embers. And once more, silence returned, deep and unnatural. Jordan's voice trembled. "I think we should leave in the morning." No one argued. Despite their decision to leave in the morning, sleep did not come easily to any of them. The night dragged on, thick with a silence that felt like pressure on their chests. Even the wind had gone still. No crickets. No owls. Just a deep, eerie quiet that seemed to watch and wait. Maya hadn't spoken since seeing the faceless woman in the lake. She sat cross-legged inside her tent, clutching her sketchbook like a shield. Her hands trembled and her eyes darted toward every little sound. She wasn't sure what she'd seen, but it hadn't been a dream. Sam lay awake too, staring at the roof of his tent. He kept replaying the pale face he'd seen under the water, how it blinked. How it didn't seem human. His thoughts spiraled. What if the old man at the gas station had been telling the truth? What if they'd already crossed a line by being here? Outside, the fire had died out completely. The night had become absolute. Then, just past 2 a.m., Jordan's voice broke the silence. "Rachel?" No answer. "Rachel, come on. This isn't funny." Maya and Sam unzipped their tents and peeked out into the dark. Jordan stood outside Rachel's tent, a flashlight in his hand, the zipper wide open. "She's not here," he said, voice tight with panic. "She's gone." Maya stepped forward. "What do you mean she's gone? Maybe she went to use the bathroom or something." Jordan shook his head. "Her shoes are still here. Her flashlight. Everything. Her sleeping bag's empty." Sam grabbed his own light and scanned the area. "Rachel," he called. No answer. They split up and started searching the immediate area, calling her name, checking near the trees, behind rocks, down by the lake. That's when Sam spotted something near the waterline. "Guys, over here." The others rushed over. Rachel's phone lay face down in the mud. Sam picked it up. It was still warm. Next to it were footprints, barefoot and wet. They trailed away from the lake and into the woods. But 10 steps in, the footprints just stopped. As if she'd vanished into thin air. Where could she have gone? Maya whispered. Jordan was already yelling again. "Rachel, come on, this isn't funny." There was a splash. All three of them turned toward the sound. The lake rippled gently like something had just slipped under the surface again. Sam's chest tightened. "I don't think she walked away." They returned to the camp in silence, the weight of dread heavy on their shoulders. No one wanted to say it, but they all felt the same thing. Rachel didn't just wander off. Something had taken her. They huddled near the remains of the fire, too afraid to go back into their tents. That's when Maya spoke, her voice hollow. "I saw something earlier, before she disappeared." Sam and Jordan turned to her. "What do you mean?" Sam asked. "I saw a woman. In the lake. Just standing there. But she didn't have a face. Just skin. Like clay that was never finished." Jordan rubbed his hands over his face. No. This is some kind of hallucination or mass panic or whatever. This doesn't make sense." Maya looked at him. "I know what I saw." Sam added quietly, "And I saw something too. Earlier. A face. Under the surface. It blinked at me." The fire crackled once, louder than before, snapping them all back to reality. Jordan stood up. "All right. We need to get out of here. Right now." "But it's still dark," Sam said. "Driving that road at night, I don't care. I'm not staying here another second." They packed up whatever gear they could carry in minutes. Tents half collapsed, bags zipped without folding. Sam stomped out the last of the fire while Maya grabbed her sketchbook and flashlight. Jordan stuffed Rachel's phone into his pocket, unable to leave it behind. As they made their way toward the car, the lake sat silent behind them, calm, flat, like it hadn't just swallowed one of their own. But just before they reached the trail, Maya turned back for one last look. The mist had returned, and standing at the far end of the shore was a figure. Drenched, still smiling. It was Rachel. Only something about her eyes looked wrong. Maya, come on, Sam yelled. She turned away, heart hammering in her chest. They didn't stop walking. The group didn't say a word as they power walked back through the woods toward their car. Branches snapped under their feet, flashlights bobbing wildly with each frantic step. No one dared to look back. Not after what Maya saw standing at the edge of the lake. It looked like Rachel, but it wasn't. They reached the parking area breathless and soaked in sweat, even though the night air was cold. Jordan fumbled with his keys, nearly dropping them. Come on, he muttered under his breath. The moment the doors unlocked, they all jumped inside, slammed the doors shut, and locked them again. Sam turned the ignition. Nothing. The engine sputtered, coughed, and died. No, he whispered. He tried again. Still nothing. It was fine yesterday. The battery was fine. Maya sat frozen in the back seat, hugging her knees. We shouldn't have come here. We were warned. Jordan was already out of the car, lifting the hood. Maybe the wires got wet or something. A thud. Something slammed against the back of the car. Everyone froze. Maya let out a small gasp. Did you hear that? Jordan stopped moving. Another thud closer to the rear window this time. Get in the car, Sam shouted. Jordan dove into the back seat and slammed the door. Silence. Then, nothing. The forest was still again. Jordan swallowed hard, peering through the fogged-up windows. Do you see anything? No, Sam whispered. Nothing. But they weren't alone. They all felt it, the presence. Like someone was standing just out of sight. Watching. Sam tried the ignition again. This time, the engine roared to life. They all exhaled at once. Without wasting a second, Sam threw the car into reverse, backed out of the lot, and sped down the narrow forest road. The trees zipped by on either side and every shadow seemed to move. The headlights cut through the darkness, but it felt like the blackness beyond was pressing in closer. No one look back, Maya whispered. Please. No one did. It took nearly half an hour before they reached the nearest paved road. Once they hit the highway, only then did the tension begin to ease slightly. We'll go straight to the ranger station, Sam said. Tell them Rachel's missing. Maybe they'll send someone. Maya didn't answer. She was still staring at her sketchbook, which she had clutched to her chest the whole time. She slowly opened it, flipping to the drawing she'd made of the lake on the first day. It had changed. The sketch she clearly remembered drawing, a peaceful lake with pine trees in the background, now had a dark, shadowy figure standing in the water. Faceless. She hadn't drawn that. Maya? Jordan asked, noticing her expression. She turned the book around and showed them. Sam nearly swerved the car. Did you draw that? Jordan asked, voice shaking. She shook her head. It wasn't there before. I swear. They drove the rest of the way in silence. When they reached the ranger station, the building was lit but empty. A sign on the door read, Emergency line temporarily disconnected. Limited staff. Please use phone outside. Sam picked up the weathered old phone hanging beside the door and dialed 911. It rang and rang. Then finally static. A voice. Barely audible. Don't stay overnight. Click. The line went dead. Sam slammed the receiver back into place. What the hell is going on out here? We need to go to the next town, Jordan said. Real town. Real police. They agreed and drove another 20 miles to a small diner that had just opened for breakfast. Inside, they tried to explain what happened to the woman behind the counter. She listened in silence. When they were finished, she wiped her hands on her apron and said, You said Lake Harrow? They nodded. She took a deep breath. You won't find her. No one ever does. That place isn't just haunted, it's cursed. People disappear there. Have been for decades. Jordan stared at her. Why doesn't anyone stop it? She gave a tired smile. Because no one who matters ever sees it. And the ones who do, she looked out the window toward the forest. They don't make it back. Sam leaned forward. Do you know what's in that lake? She shook her head. I just know it doesn't let go. They didn't sleep that night. After the unsettling conversation with the diner waitress, Sam, Jordan, and Maya checked into a nearby roadside motel, one of those dimly lit, slightly musty places with paper-thin walls and buzzing neon lights that made the darkness outside feel even heavier. Despite the exhaustion, none of them could relax. The fear from the lake clung to them like smoke. Maya sat by the window, sketchbook on her lap, staring into the parking lot as if expecting something or someone to appear. Jordan paced the room, still trying to get a signal on his phone. Sam scrolled through missing persons forums, searching the name Lake Harrow. There were posts. Dozens. Some were years old. Some only weeks. My brother disappeared at Lake Harrow. Tent was torn. No footprints. No body. I saw her too. Faceless woman. Do not camp there. They come out at night. Don't look in the water. She returned, but it wasn't her. That last one made Sam stop. He clicked on it. The post was dated 6 months ago. The user described how his friend vanished during a weekend trip to Lake Harrow only to show up at her home 2 days later. But she wasn't the same. She didn't speak. Didn't blink. Wouldn't eat. Then she disappeared again, this time for good. As Sam scrolled down, Maya suddenly stood up. She's outside. Jordan turned to her. What? I saw her, Maya said, voice low. Rachel. She's standing by the motel sign. Sam jumped up and rushed to the window. Jordan followed. Sure enough, under the dim neon glow, a figure stood just beyond the edge of the light. Drenched. Motionless. Head tilted slightly. It looked like Rachel. Sam's breath caught in his throat. Rachel? They bolted out of the room, throwing the door open and rushing into the lot. Rachel. Jordan called out. The figure turned slowly. It was Rachel, at least it wore her face. But her eyes were wide, too wide, as if she hadn't blinked in hours. Her hair hung limp and wet, and her skin was almost gray in the artificial light. She didn't speak. Jordan ran toward her. Where have you been? We thought you were. She lifted a hand slowly and pointed at him. Just pointed. Maya held back. Jordan, wait. But it was too late. Rachel's mouth slowly stretched open, far wider than humanly possible, and let out a low, unnatural sound. It wasn't a scream. It wasn't a growl. It was a gurgle, like something trying to speak through water. Jordan stopped in his tracks. Ratch? She stepped toward him. Then another figure appeared. From the shadows near the gas pumps. Then another. And another. All dripping. All with blank eyes. Silent. Sam grabbed Jordan's arm. We need to go. Now. They ran back to the room, slammed the door, and locked it. Maya pulled the curtains shut while Jordan leaned against the door, his breath shaking. What the hell is happening? He whispered. Sam was already dialing 911 again. This time, it connected. 911, what's your emergency? We're at the Pine Grove Motel just outside Lake Harrow. Our friend disappeared yesterday, and now she just showed up here, but she's not normal. There are others too. They're surrounding the building. The line went dead. Sam stared at the phone. They cut us off. Outside, the neon lights flickered. Then the power went out completely. Total darkness. The silence was deafening. Then tap, tap, tap. On the window. They all turned. A pale hand was pressed against the glass. Get into the bathroom, Sam hissed. They all ran into the tiny motel bathroom and locked the door. The tapping continued. More hands. Now against the door. The walls. The window. Maya backed up against the wall, clutching her sketchbook to her chest again. They followed us. She brought them. Sam looked at her. What do they want? I think they want us to come back. Jordan's voice was barely a whisper. Back where? The lake. A deep, guttural sound echoed through the motel. Then silence. The tapping stopped. They waited. Minutes passed. Then, a soft knock at the bathroom door. 3 slow taps. Guys? Came Rachel's voice, soft. Calm. I'm okay now. You can come out. But no one moved. Because the voice? It wasn't coming from the other side of the door. It was coming from inside the bathroom. The voice sent a shockwave through the tiny bathroom. Guys? It repeated, softer now. It's me. Rachel. Sam's flashlight flicked toward the shower curtain. Nothing moved behind it, but the voice was unmistakably close, inside the room with them. Jordan reached for the curtain. Don't, Maya said sharply, grabbing his arm. But it was too late. He yanked the curtain aside, nothing. Just a bare tub. No one there. Sam exhaled shakily, trying to make sense of it. There's no one. Suddenly the wall behind them groaned. The drywall cracked from the inside. A bulge pushed outward as though something was trying to press through. A slow smear of water trickled down the tile. That's it. We're getting out of here, Sam said. He shoved the bathroom door open. The motel room was a mess, drawers pulled out, the lamps overturned, the door to the hallway wide open. The figures were gone, but water puddled everywhere. Jordan grabbed the car keys from the table. Let's move. They sprinted outside. The parking lot was empty except for their car sitting in the back corner beneath a dying streetlight. Fog rolled low across the ground and everything smelled of mildew and stagnant water. They ran for the car. As they piled in, the silence returned. Sam started the engine. This time, it turned over immediately. They peeled out of the lot, tires screeching, speeding toward the highway. No stopping, Jordan muttered. No matter what we see, no matter what we hear. They drove for miles, the fog refusing to let up even as they passed towns and signs and dimly lit gas stations. Every so often, a figure would appear in the distance on the shoulder of the road, then vanish just before they passed. After about an hour of tense silence, Maya finally spoke. I think we brought something with us. Sam looked at her in the rearview mirror. What do you mean? She held up her sketchbook. Another new drawing, this one she swore she never made. It was their motel room, but twisted. Dark. Wet. And behind the shower curtain was a tall figure with webbed hands and a face like melted wax. Every time I look, there's something new, she said. It's like it's documenting us. Jordan shook his head. We just need to get back to the city. Somewhere crowded. Somewhere safe. But as they passed a crooked sign on the road that read Welcome to Harrow Lake, their hearts sank. No, Sam muttered. That's not possible. They had been driving for over an hour away from the lake. But somehow, they had circled back. The fog thickened again. The trees looked the same. Maya flipped her sketchbook to the last page. A fresh image had appeared. The three of them in the car driving. And behind them, in the back seat, Rachel. Sam slammed on the brakes. What is it? Jordan shouted. Sam's voice trembled. She's here. They all turned slowly. The back seat was empty. But when Sam looked up into the rearview mirror, he saw her. Rachel, sitting between Maya and Jordan, grinning. But her eyes were gone. Two dark holes stared back at him. Out! Sam screamed. They jumped out of the car, tumbling onto the road, hearts pounding. Behind them, the car doors slammed on their own. Then the vehicle slowly rolled forward on its own, no driver, and disappeared into the fog. The silence that followed was worse than any sound. Jordan collapsed to his knees. We're never getting out of here. Maya looked down at her sketchbook again. This time, the image showed a boat. On a lake. 3 figures inside. One of them was waving. I think we have to go back, she whispered. To where it started. It's the only way. Sam stood in stunned silence. You want to go back to the lake? I don't want to, Maya said. But I think it's calling us. And if we don't go willingly, she turned the sketchbook to show the next page. Their motel door. Wide open. With Rachel waiting just inside. If we don't, she said, it'll come get us anyway. The fog thickened the closer they walked toward the lake. The road disappeared behind them. No matter how far they went, the path only seemed to lead in one direction, back to Lake Harrow. It was almost dawn when they reached the familiar clearing. The edge of the cursed water stretching out like an open wound beneath the pale sky. The surface was smooth and dark, unnaturally still. No birds, no wind, just silence, and the faint sound of humming. A single rowboat waited at the shore. I didn't see this here before, Sam muttered. It wasn't, Maya said, but the sketchbook showed it. Jordan glanced around nervously. What are we supposed to do? Just row into the middle and wait for it to eat us? I think, Maya said, her voice trembling. We have to give it something. What do you mean? She opened her sketchbook again and flipped through the pages. Dozens of drawings now, images of their trip, their fears, and the lake itself. Then she turned to the last page. A girl drowning. Rachel. I think Rachel's still in there. The real Rachel. They looked at the lake. The water was beginning to ripple, though no wind stirred it. Something was moving beneath the surface, massive, slow, and circling. Sam picked up an old or worn paddle. Then let's go get her. The three climbed into the boat and began rowing toward the center of the lake. The silence grew deeper with each stroke, as if the world outside no longer existed. Halfway across, the boat jolted. Something brushed the underside. Jordan froze. Did you feel that? A deep gurgling came from below. Then the water around them began to churn, slowly, then violently. Waves rocked the boat as black, inky tendrils rose to the surface, circling them. It knows we're here, Maya said. She opened the sketchbook and held it high above the water. We brought back your story. The water hissed. Then it opened, a perfect circle, parting like a mouth in the middle of the lake. Beneath, they saw not depth, but a chamber like a sunken room, lined with broken mirrors, decayed furniture, and bones. At the center, floating, was Rachel. Her body untouched by time, eyes closed. "She's dreaming," Jordan whispered. Maya leaned over the edge. "Rachel, wake up!" As her voice echoed into the abyss, a dark shape rose behind the girl. Tall, human-shaped, but wrong. Its skin shimmered like oil and its face was just water. No features, only reflection. The entity reached for Rachel. "No!" Maya screamed, hurling the sketchbook into the water. The book floated for a moment, then slowly sank into the hole. The moment it vanished, the lake screamed. The sound wasn't heard, it was felt. In the bones? In the blood. The chamber shattered. The boat pitched violently as the water exploded upward. Jordan grabbed Maya as the boat flipped. Sam vanished beneath the surface. Underwater, Maya saw flashes Rachel's face. Her own. Dozens of people. Screaming. Lost. As if the lake had absorbed not just bodies, but souls. Then a hand grabbed hers. Rachel. Her eyes fluttered open. Together, they broke the surface. Choking, gasping, the four of them washed up on the shore minutes later. Rachel lay coughing beside them, real this time, alive. But confused. What happened?" she asked weakly. They looked out over the lake. The surface was calm again. But the boat was gone. So was the hole. And so was the sketchbook. Later that day, authorities arrived, called by a ranger who claimed he heard something screaming out of the woods. They took the group's report seriously, especially after seeing Rachel, reported missing 48 hours earlier, now inexplicably alive and unharmed. They left out the parts about the faceless figures, the sketchbook, and the creature in the lake. No one would have believed them anyway. The ranger who took their report, however, paused before they left and quietly said, "You're lucky. That lake doesn't usually let people go. If I were you, I'd never come back." And they didn't. None of them ever set foot near Lake Harrow again. But sometimes Maya dreams about it. In the dream, the lake isn't just still. It's watching. Waiting. And somewhere, in the murky depths, the sketchbook still floats, its pages turning one by one, telling the stories of everyone who didn't leave in time. 46.